If you watched the last video on factoring, we were looking at when the leading coefficient is 1, or first term is just x squared. Things get a little more complicated when you have a leading coefficient that is not 1. If this were just x squared, then we could do what we've done with others. We can look at the signs and realize because this is negative, one of these is going to be positive, the other one's going to be negative, and we would just have an x here and an x here. But since we've got this 5 here, then one of these is a 5 and one of them is a 1, because that's the only way you can get 5. But everything else gets a little tricky because this middle term is now a combination of these two terms multiplying and getting different factors. So we're going to treat this just a little bit differently, but we're going to use a similar technique. This time we're going to take our first term and our last term, and at least the coefficients, and multiply them together. So we're going to take 5 times 6, and that gives us 30. Now we're going to look at factors of 30, and again, because this is negative, we want factors of 30 with a difference of 7. And so we're going to use, well, we can do 30 times 1, we can do 15 times 2, we can do 10 times 3, which that's going to work because 10 minus 3 is equal to 7. But this time we're just going to rewrite this equation. We're going to rewrite it as 5x squared. We're going to change this 7x. Now, we can't just change it, but we can make it look a little different. Since this is a positive 7x, we're going to rewrite it as 10x minus 3x. Now you'll notice 10x minus 3x is still 7x. We haven't changed anything, we've just changed the way that it looked. And then minus 6. Now, we can just go ahead and group these. I'm going to put a plus in here just so we remember that these signs are going to stay the same. And then we can just factor out of each one of these. Okay, so in this case, we can factor out a 5x. We rewrite that, and we're left with x plus 2. And here we can factor out a negative 3, and we're left with x plus 2. Now in this case, we can factor the x plus 2 out of both of these, and we're left with x plus 2 and 5x minus 3. Now you notice it still worked with our signs, one's positive, one's negative, but it simplifies the way that we factor when we have a leading coefficient that is something other than 1. And this works every time, even if there's different factors for 5. If this is factorable, this method works for a leading coefficient other than 1.